In this demo, we are going to take a look at the heat map, which can be found by coming to the Plans tab and then selecting here on the drop-down the heat panel. So what we're looking at here is the overall occupancy that was observed during an activity analysis reflected directly upon the floor plan that was followed for the observations. So in this project, we had a fairly low utilization of the space of roughly 22%. So we can see that represented here by the lighter, cooler colors of the blues and the greens, which are representing between 0 to 40% occupancy. Then in the mid-range, between 40 to 80%, we have these yellows and oranges. And then on the high end of utilization, these kind of red hot zones here. And as we can see across the floor plan, there's a bit of more activity, perhaps over here in this corner with the workstations, some workstations over here, but quite a bit of low utilization throughout some of these private offices, conference rooms, workstations. Now what we can do here is we can also start to dive in a little bit on some of these specific spots. So let's say I want to see what exactly was happening here with this workstation. I can come here and I can quickly see data that has been uploaded for this space. And then if I look at use, this starts to look at the activities that were recorded during the activity analysis. And we can see that this had a very high percentage of focus work with no headphones. So 72% of the time, focus work was occurring here. And not too much else, little slivers here of being on a phone or a headset, some focus work with headphones, and then the rest of the time that the space was unoccupied. So this can just give me a quick snapshot of what was happening in this space. Similarly, we could take a look here at this conference room, which did not have a very high utilization. But we can see that when it was occupied, it was being used for meetings with everyone seated. Now another way to view this floor plan is by changing the calculation to showing occupancy by hour. And now I can come down here to this slider and start to scroll through the hours of the day. So 8 a.m. we can see that no one is here yet. It's an empty floor. 9 a.m. we start to get a little bit of activity. 10 a.m., 11 a.m. starting to fill out quite a bit, seeing some of these warmer zones. Noon, it is very empty. Appears everybody is out for lunch, except for one person. And by 1 o'clock, filling back out again. 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, we're starting to see some emptying of the space. 4 o'clock as well. And then by 5 o'clock, we see that we have an empty floor plan. Now I can also start to zoom in and take a look at some different spaces. So let's scroll over here. And perhaps I'm interested in this kind of open lounge area that we have here. There's quite a variety of different seats. I'm going to just increase the scale here just to help see the colors a little bit better. And again, if I start back in the morning at 7, 8, empty, 9, so we're starting to see some activity already in the morning here and throughout the day. So we can see that these spaces are fairly well utilized throughout the day. Now if I want to take again a closer look and begin to understand what type of activities are taking place, I can come here to this lounge, and I see very quickly that there is quite a bit of meetings, both monitor focused with either a laptop or a computer, as well as meetings just face-to-face with everyone seated, which is happening in the space, and just a little bit of focus work with no headphones. So people escaping over here, perhaps to get some heads down, uninterrupted work done. Also take a look at this lounge area here. It's a little bit more private. And but again, when the space is occupied, about a very even split here between both face-to-face meetings as well as meetings where a monitor is involved. So this very quickly starts to give me an idea of what type of collaborations are happening, perhaps away from the desk. Maybe these activities are not supported or are not, it's not standard practice to have these sorts of meetings at the workstations. Perhaps, as we saw, these workstations are being reserved more for focus work. So this gives an easy way to start to tie some of this data directly to the floor plan to help you start to explore and perhaps find areas that need to be dived into a little bit deeper, either through additional interviews that could be conducted with the organization or by continuing to work and look through the data that is collected through the activity analysis.